Let's talk to Mark Littlewood, Director of Popular Conservatism. Mark, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. Great to be with you.
Good to see you. They haven't got a clue, have they? They don't know what to do. It's more than 24 hours since the Epping story broke, and since it was clear that almost every single migrant hotel is now up for grabs because in terms of the planning laws, basically they've all changed their use, and they can all be shut down.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but we're probably looking at a few tens of thousands, maybe 30,000 people in asylum hotels.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Jarvis was absolutely hopeless there on that clip. Because he's also to Emma Barnett, well, you're only focusing on one part of the question. But I would have thought the overarching big question is where and how do we house these people?
Yeah.
Over the medium term, you've obviously got to get deportations moving swiftly, right? The problem is we're finding it nearly impossible to kick anybody out of the country, so the problem's growing by the day. But this is my suggested solution, which I give for free to the Labour government. Back in the COVID era, we were able to erect Nightingale hospitals at unbelievable speed. I think the one in London was established and set up in a mere 7 days.
Yes.
If you've got the will to do it, I would have thought you could set up kind of holding centres for migrants extremely quickly. You might need a week or so. You would certainly need the political will. I haven't yet scanned or worked out where you would put them, presumably in a rather isolated area rather than in the middle of a residential area. Otherwise, as your voice note from your listener Matt said, we're going to have to buy a load of houses, which is probably an even worse solution, and I think would stoke public fury even more. So I would have thought long-term solution or medium-term solution, you've got to get deportations going. That means leaving the European Convention of Human Rights, repealing the Human Rights Act, but immediately let's take a leaf out of the Nightingale Hospital playbook and start constructing sites in isolated areas where we borrow a huge amount of land from a landlord and we just put up the migrants there. That's what I'd go for if I was the government.
Exactly right. But, I mean, looking at some of the stories of the papers today, it's extraordinary what's going on. There was a guy in the Daily Mail who's living a luxury life in that hotel in London. It's in the Barbican, which is where they've been demonstrating outside. He would appear to have a wife in Dubai. He would appear to be working for some kind of Middle Eastern investment company. He's got a Selfridges sort of shopping bag in his room. He's got a laptop, and he's basically working for free. He says, I pay no tax, I'm having a great time, and I'm sending money back to my wife in Dubai. However, he says he's here because he says that he's actually gay and he can't be sent home, otherwise he'd be persecuted. So, I mean, he will be one of many, many stories which are just a complete and utter laughingstock, making a laughingstock of this government.
Yes, that's true. And look, there's going to be a certain number of these people who are, genuinely in need and genuinely fleeing persecution or war. And I think we should make separate carve-outs for those people. So we had a kind of a separate deal for Ukrainians, for example, very specifically for Ukrainians, not just a general principle that applies to all. Look, I mean, if this guy, I'm not aware of all the particulars of this guy's case, Mike, but I mean, if we're going to basically say anyone who claims to be gay can come in and have 4-star accommodation and, work from their laptop as a trader in a nice 4-star hotel or 5-star hotel in Canary Wharf, we're going to be letting hundreds of millions of people in.
Yeah.
Not you. Word is spreading about this. So we've got to be a lot clearer. And you say he's got a wife while he's also purporting to be gay.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's not a total logical contradiction, but it's another anecdotal example of how soft and absurd our system is. We should be providing for these people's subsistence while they're here, but we should be turning around their cases lightning fast. It takes about 18 months to process a single case. It should take about 18 hours. In my view.
And we should also discourage more people from coming by sending many, many people back, because if people see that it's not quite as easy as they thought, they'll stop.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why we'll never know, well, unless it comes back, Mike, whether the Rwanda plan would have worked. But the idea wasn't necessarily that you ship everybody immediately to Rwanda. The idea is that you build a deterrent. And we've got to basically stop the pulling power of our soft welfarist approach to all of these people. And we've got to have a bit more stick and a lot less carrot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think once people start to see that you're not walking into a five-star hotel, you're typically being put on a plane and sent home, or in a small number of cases, sent to a third country, word gets out fast. Essentially, Britain is a massive welfare magnet for anyone who can get here. I mean, again, anecdotal, but I was looking at the clip that you were playing during the news. These all seem to be men getting off that coach and walking into, I think it was the Britannia Hotel. You know, people respond to incentives. So we've got to stop the magnetic pull of offering these people hotels and all sorts of other goodies. And we've got to have a lot more push, which means deportation and starting to send people home. And I think you can actually solve the problem pretty quickly. It's not that the British authorities need to round up, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people and forcibly put them on flights. Once those incentives change, people's behaviour will change, and you'll find a lot of people leaving the country of their own.
Yeah, they'll go somewhere else because that's the way the business works. I mean, everybody knows that. It seems the government are the only people who don't know it. Another big news item today, the release of Lucy Connolly from prison, likely to happen in the next few hours, we're told. We don't know exactly what time. But this is really, to me, indicative of what's wrong with this government. Here's Keir Starmer when he was asked last year about the probably most high-profile case in criminal justice, say, for example, in the last 24 months. Have a look at this.
I'm not across the details of the particular case, but let me give you the principles that I would apply. Firstly, I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very, very long time, and we protect it fiercely. I'm equally, though, against incitement to violence against other people. That has long been an offence in our country, and rightly so. And so I say, don't know the details of this case, but free speech, yes. Incitement to violence, no.
For him to say, I don't know the details of this case, is not only disingenuous, it is entirely and utterly false, and entirely, I would suggest to you, disingenuous.
Yeah, no, that I agree with that, Mike. I mean, I would have thought that the Prime Minister, or basically anyone with even a cursory interest in political debate, would have read Lucy Connolly's tweet and would have formed an opinion about it. My own opinion is it does not amount to incitement to riot violence, or indeed even incitement to racial hatred. Although I do not in any way approve of what she said, the price of free speech is that you tolerate people saying things that you find a bit off colour. Lucy Connolly, in my view, should not have committed a crime. It should not be categorised as a crime. And the fact that she's had to serve even a single day in prison, let alone 9 months, is utterly ridiculous. And to further go to Keir Starmer's rather disingenuous approach to this, if you look back to when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, deciding who should be sent to court and punished for this sort of behaviour, his suggestion then, I think we're going back 10 or 12 years, was that if you swiftly delete something that you regret, you know, you say something in haste, but an hour or a couple of hours later you say, actually, I really shouldn't have said that, and delete it, then you shouldn't be prosecuted. Well, that's exactly what Lucy Connolly did. So Keir Starmer's apparent ignorance of this case in that clip, but also his previous guidance on this when in his former role as Director of Public shows he is all over the shop. This is an enormous miscarriage of justice. And in my view, although I don't approve in any way of what Lucy Connolly said in that tweet before she swiftly deleted it, she has been a political prisoner for the last 9 months.
No question, because, you know, people were arguing about the Ricky Jones case and whether, you know, there was any comparison to be made, and, you know, sort of legal minds were saying, well, you know, she pleaded guilty, he didn't. But the reason she pleaded guilty was because she was sort of bullied into it. You know, she was informed by more, you know, well-versed lawyers than she was well-versed in the law, that said that, you know, if you plead guilty, you'll get a smaller sentence, you'll probably be home to see your children, your family much quicker. So that's why she went along with it, you know, because if she had pleaded not guilty, there's a pretty good chance she probably would have been freed as well, and she wouldn't have been convicted.
I think that's right. And look, it's always difficult, I guess, to work out whether to follow that legal advice. And we don't know precisely the legal advice that was given to her. But I would suspect that she greatly regrets following that legal advice. I think had she been put in front of a jury of her peers and pleaded not guilty, although you're right, you're potentially risking a bigger sentence, I think it would have been almost certain that a jury of her peers would have acquitted her. So that was an unfortunate misstep. But I think a civilian under pressure who makes an unfortunate misstep or gets somewhat poor legal advice, both of those might have happened in this case, which is, as I say, unfortunate. But that shouldn't lead to you being in prison for 9 months, for crying out loud. This is, in my view, morally an absolute miscarriage of justice, quite a disgrace, and I think really proof of a two-tier justice system.
Yeah.
Had Lucy Connolly said something extreme but left-wing, I very much doubt she would have got a day in prison.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mark Littlewood, thank you very much indeed. We've got to run. Director of Popular Conservatism